Boys, girls, ladies, and gents, what's up, y'all? Welcome to another video. Coming through this time is a question I get quite often, which is what should our investments look like heading into KVK2 now that KVK3 has Season of Conquest commanders? Now, I'm gonna be very candid, and I'm gonna say, guys, if you guys are watching this video, you guys have a question of what should I invest in, I'm gonna tell you off rip, if you're asking that question, you probably shouldn't invest in. The reason why is because you got access to 6 new comms as soon as you enter KVK2. Those are gonna be Constantine and Alex, Edward and Tommyrus, Genghis Khan and Saladin. Out of these 6, there are only 2 that are worth damn near anything. We're gonna talk about all 6 of them. If you guys are just looking for a quick one and done, you shouldn't invest in them. So first up, we got Constantine. So in KVK2, there are no Season of Conquest commander. The rally Garrison meta is a little weird, but as I understand it right now, as it has basically always been, the best Garrison is going to be Yi Song-Ye, Tommyrus secondary, and the best rally is generally also going to be YSG, Tommyrus secondary. Things that could sometimes work, I've seen like Saladin YSG work as a Garrison. I've seen like Constantine Martel work as a Garrison if there's like Saladin YSG or Saladin Khan rallies. Things like that can happen. But like I like to tell you guys all the time, if you're thinking about being a rally Garrison commander, don't think about that anymore. Pull it out of your brain. If you're a native of the kingdom, whatever kingdom you're in, and you're thinking, I want to be a rally Garrison, the truth of the matter is you don't want to be a rally Garrison. People from Season of Conquest are going to migrate into their kingdom, and they're going to do any job better than you could do it, period. There's literally no way, it's actually impossible, even if you have infinite money, to get enough money. There is no way to get enough stats to compete with people who are coming back from Season of Conquest. Because you only got armaments very recently, and people who migrate backwards from Season of Conquest have had armaments for probably however many months since this video has released. You know, armaments are pretty old at this point. They're coming back with like 30-something% stats, full special talented equipment, expertise legendary commanders, and they will roll each and every one of you natives that come up that try to step to them. If you are a whale or a kraken and you have just started the game in a new kingdom, don't do it. Do yourself a favor, do everybody a favor, and just don't engage with Rally Garrison. If you have access to MGEs, generally, unless it's for free or you're like contesting somebody in the open field and you're getting like some kind of Constantine drop, Constantine as a Sunset Canyon or Lost Canyon is actually not bad at 5511. Would I ever in my entire life ever suggest anybody invest in him for that? No. If you're a Rally Garrison and a native, don't be. If you get him out of MGE by some twist of fate, having him at like a 5411 or like a 5311 or something like that for Sunset Canyon, Lost Canyon is totally fine. That's a perfectly acceptable place to put him, but I'd only put him there if you got him for free. Alex, I'm a pretty decent fan of. I actually really like him. I wouldn't suggest investing in him anymore. I did suggest investing in him in the past if you could expertise him before his probably like second wheel. If you could finish him before the end of KVK2, I thought, okay, not too bad. But back then, KVK3 was not Season of Conquest, so you got like a KVK and a half out of him, and he still fit in the like meta 5 marches, more or less. That's just not the case anymore. Can you still put him in a meta 5 march? I personally am running Scipio YSG, Nevsky Joan, Boudica Zuliang, and I'm running Juan Alex, right? So Alex isn't going to pop out of my 5 march probably until the next infantry commander is released. But once the new infantry commander is released, unless by some twist of fate they release some museum that makes him crazy, they'd have to release a museum that gives him like 30% health. And then I'd be like, well, maybe Alex isn't that bad again. But unless they do that, as of right now, there is no new museum buff, he's just not worth investing. If you are a whale and you are looking for something hefty to use in KVK2, you can. I mean, it's not the worst investment on the planet. I would say out of all of the KVK2 options, if I were to expertise any singular commander, it would probably be Alexander the Great. That being said, I wouldn't suggest this for anybody. I do coaching. People pay me $35 for on-stream coaching. People pay me $50 for off-stream coaching. If you guys are interested in that, you can always hit me up in the Discord in the description below. Every single one of my clients that has ever asked me about investing into Alex, I've always told them no. And I don't see that changing anytime soon, especially with new commanders being released. So is Alex good? Yes. Is he that good? No. So I would say you probably don't have to be a kraken to invest in him. Like, for example, no one should ever invest in Constantine, but I would say at least you'd have to be at like the $2,000 a month before I can consider investing in him. And even at $2,000 a month, I still don't know if I would do it. If you bought coaching, I've coached many people who are transitioning to Season of Conquest. That would be a question for coaching for your specific account. The vast majority of people, as a rule of thumb, I would say don't invest. Next up, we have archers. So we've got Edward of Woodstock coming through. Edward sucks. He really is that bad in every way, shape, and form. KVK2, I think occasionally you might see him as a rally with like Edward YSG as a secondary or Edward Tommy. I generally see YSG Tommy doing better, but Edward Tommy does okay as a rally garrison. But as I always tell you guys, if you think you're gonna be a rally garrison, you're not. Even if you're a whale, I probably wouldn't run it. If you're a Kraken, I don't see any way to justify running this guy. He just is not that good. And if you're a Kraken, if you're a real like rally Kraken out that, I mean, you already have Thutmose probably from KVK1. If you already got Thutmose, I mean, my God, you know, you're gonna invest in another like Gen 2 Edward. I mean, he's just so bad for so many reasons. He'd have to come out with an absolutely, you know, we talked about 30% health probably being required for like Alex to be good. You'd have to have like 60% health for Edward of Woodstock to even be like a question out here. He just is that bad. Next up, we're gonna have Tommy. Tommy's pretty good, actually. I wouldn't say invest in her necessarily, but I mean, like, she's still used in Season of Conquest. Like, Tyrus is fine. She does well as a secondary, so if you're running like 3 archer marches, you might find yourself running something like Boudica Artemisia or Boudica Zuliang. You might find yourself running something like Henry Tommyrus, and you might find yourself running like Nebuchadnezzar YSG or Nebuchadnezzar Zuliang or something like that. And that's pretty acceptable. Like, Henry does pretty well with Tommy as a primary. Tommy's debuff is pretty awesome. I personally wouldn't suggest investing in her per se, especially for like a FTP low spender. But if you're like a higher spender, I mean, Tommyrus is not horrendous. She's probably like the least egregious on this list in terms of like commanders you could probably like expertise and not feel horrendous about. Generally, if you're spending, I mean, you could just buy her from dailies though and kind of call it a day. You don't have to think about it too hard. Really, her last skill is the only thing that matters, so you can get Tommy to like 1-1-1-5 and just kind of rock it. I've seen people do that and do all right with it. Take into Season of Conquest, it's not bad. It's not a bad commander by any stretch of the imagination. I wouldn't suggest the majority of players invest in her, but if you're buying like dailies or something like that, or you get something from the Mightiest Governor event, like, she's a good pickup. Over here, we have our friend Genghis Khan. No, for so many reasons. I don't know. There's no other way I can put it. Like, no. Just don't do it. Do yourself a favor and do not invest in Genghis Khan. He is bad. I mean, like, he's in KVK2 in that context, like, he can do some damage, but once he comes to Season of Conquest, like, there are just better versions of him everywhere, and the self debuff he has on himself will just never stop being bad. Just know, we're not going to go any further into detail. Just going to leave it there and trust you guys to use your best judgment to not invest in him. Over here is Saladin. He is one of the less egregious investments. So if we would say, like, Alex is probably the least egregious expertise, Tommyrus is probably the least egregious like dailies to purchase or 1-1-1-5. Saladin would be the least egregious like half investment. So if you wanted to run Saladin at 5-5-1-1 or 5-5-5-1, that's pretty good. Saladin Ethelflaed is an absolutely spectacular march. I really like it, and it's something I would have personally liked to use in KVK2. I just realized that I didn't have enough space to pick up a full Alex and a half Saladin and translate them both well into Season of Conquest. I realized I could only pick one or the other, and if I could only have picked one or the other, you guys certainly can only pick one or the other, if you were to even invest. I would say if you are a whale, considering Alex might be okay, but like a mid to high spender might be able to consider a 5-5-5-1 Saladin. Personally, again, if you're ordering coaching, I wouldn't suggest it, but if I saw somebody with a 5-5-5-1 Saladin, I wouldn't be repulsed, right? This is a commander that if you brought into Season of Conquest, right now he is currently in the process of getting replaced by QB, which is the new guy getting released that has a slow on attack, which is going to override the thing that he does. Saladin's not bad by any stretch of the imagination, and his museum was okay, but it wasn't good enough to bring him back in the meta. Again, like half investing into Saladin, he does come out on the wheel. It's not horrible. It's just not something I would personally do. I would say out of everybody on this list, Saladin is pretty decent. Another thing that you want to consider when you're investing on people in this list is a lot of these guys' skills are going to come back for Bastion skills or be auxiliary skills. So if you invest in these commanders, it's not like it's gone forever, right? So for example, like if we were to consider Saladin, like this skill, if you see it on a Bastion, is really strong, right? You can put this on like a Nevsky or something. So getting him to like 5-5-5-1, right? Like you might see these skills again. They're not complete wastes. So picking them up, like there is some value in it. The issue is the more you invest in a KVK2, the more it's going to delay your SOC transition. And generally when you're looking at like Bastion skills and auxiliary skills, you have way past transition to SOC, right? Those are people that have like 5 to 7 marches. Then they're looking back at their previous commanders and they're thinking, okay, what else can I get here? And just the majority of players are not there. Again, Saladin, 5-5-5-1, not horrible. Alex, expertise, not horrible, just not things I would suggest. And if they're not things I would suggest, they're probably not that good. If you're a competitive player, you probably shouldn't do this. I'd only consider if you're like a very, very heavy whale. Again, guys, this is not like the most in-depth or complex of videos. It's just a video covering the 6 commanders that you're going to see in KVK2 and what you should do with them now that Season of Conquest commanders are in KVK3. And the answer is you probably shouldn't invest in any of them, because in Season of Conquest commanders are way, way, way stronger, and you're only going to have access, and these KVK2 commanders are only going to be meta, I use that term loosely, for about, I don't know, like 50 days. So it's really just not that good. If you guys like videos like this, feel free to drop a like, drop a comment, consider subscribing, hitting the notification bell. All that stuff helps an absolute ton. If you guys want to help support the channel, please consider donating to the Streamlabs tip link in the description below. I'd really appreciate that a lot. We don't have any sponsors right now, so every donation you guys make is hugely impactful to keeping the stream up. If you guys are interested in account coaching, I have coached literally hundreds of accounts. It is $35 a session for on-stream. It is $50 a session for off-stream. If you guys are interested in that, make sure you head to the Discord in the description below and DM me and say, hey, I'm interested in coaching. If you guys want to get notifications when I go live, or you want to contact me while I'm not live, that Discord is the best place to go. Make sure you go to the role selection tab and turn on announcement and stream notifications. With that being said, guys, I think that's going to be it for today. Have yourselves an absolutely great one. If you guys have any video ideas or suggestions, you can always feel free to comment them. Have yourselves a good one. Deuces.